Hello and welcome to episode 18 of the Blender and Unity Crash Course. This episode we're going to take a look at animations and setting up some different prefabs for our coin. So to get started, let's go over to our modeled folder. And because we just brought in those textures, we'll see it's not white anymore, it's recognizing those pictures. So first thing, let's click, as you saw me click these arrows here. Well, that's the broken one, so there's all our different objects. We also have our mesh information here. So it shows you how many triangles and vertices right there, which is pretty cool. So we go and close that, go into our create asset. Here's our LODs, and it shows how many triangles we're working with on each LOD as well. So that's great. If we click our coin, we'll see our animations right here. Right? If we click play, it'll play that animation. Cool. So you click your asset here, and you'll get a list of animations as long as you click this animation tab right here. So this is actually the exact same list as in Blender that we made in our action editor. So that's why we do that the way we do in Blender. So it gives us this exact same list right here, first and end frame. Fantastic. And now the same way that we edited the flip normals in our broken crate, the same way we edited our mapping, we can go back into Blender and re-export just the same way. Even if we add animations to that action editor, it's going to add them right here. We can click this little plus button, and right here down source take, you can see the full list. So if there's something missing from there, just add one there, whatever it is, and come down and find your new one down here. So what we want to do is we're going to click loop time down here on both of these. So that's both of our animations. We can do a lot of different things to this, but for now that's all we're going to do. So we're going to make sure that those continuously loop, just like this. Perfect. In default pose we probably won't use, but it is a loop, so might as well have it looping, right? Okay, we're going to click apply down here. Good. Okay, so now that's ready for now for basically an animator. So we're going to create that next. So let's drag in the coin. And as I mentioned before, anything with a collider in your world is going to actually act as a floor or a wall for new objects that you place, which is awesome. Let's do this. Okay, so we need to add our material to this. So let's go to the coin mesh right here. You see we have a different kind of component here, a skinned mesh renderer. And the reason for this is because it's actually weighted to an armature, which we can see right here. Here's our root bone, and it adds a position for the end. You can see how we were able to rotate this based on our origin, basically, right? So selecting this here, a skin mesh renderer is almost the same as a mesh renderer, only it's got a few different components because it's going to be influenced by its armature. So we still have a spot here for material. So if it's not drop down, just click this drop down arrow. Now it's good to note that things can have multiple materials. We can assign different materials to objects here, and we're actually going to do it that way for our player. So when we go to create our character in Blender, that's how we'll do. We'll have a few different materials. We'll be able to see how that works. So obviously we need to create a material for our coin. Let's go in here to materials, right click, create, material. I'm just going to call this coin. And we're going to create a few different skins so that we have like a copper, a silver, and a gold. And if you created all the textures that I did here, we should be able to make that work just from this. But you can also just, as the same way, go take this into GIMP and create a few more textures out of it. Maybe one white and maybe one sort of brown for the copper. But I'm just going to create it using the materials. It's going to be a little bit more optimal because the more textures you have in your game, the bigger the base file size of your game is going to be. Okay, so I'm going to go over here to coin. I'm just going to attach all the materials here. We have a new one here, metallic, right? So I attach this here, and it's going to give it a full smoothness right off the bat, but we can tone this down just a tiny bit. I think that'll be fine. Let's attach our normal map, right? We can use the right mouse button and kind of spin this around and see it mapped onto a sphere. That's cool. Let's add our ambient occlusion, right? And this is just going to add some darker shadows in some areas where it should. All right, so let's drag this onto our coin, right? There's only one mesh here, so it's okay, we can drag. Okay, now before I create a prefab, I want to actually do a few more things to this. So I think it needs one more component here. I think we're going to right-click on the parent asset here. I'm going to go 3D object, and I'm going to create a sphere. Okay? I'm going to shrink this down a little bit. What this is going to be is the hitbox for the player, that when he runs through it, the coin will disappear. So this sphere collider right here, I want to change this to isTrigger. As mentioned before, that will stop any physics from happening to it. We can call a script that we're going to attach to this that will basically give the player a gold coin and make this disappear, maybe do a little sparkly flash to say that we picked it up. So obviously I don't want this big white ball right here, So we can actually remove these components right here. Remove. Right? And we need the transform, we need the collider. Let's leave that just like that. And we can rename this here. Trigger. Okay? Just so we know we can find that fast when we go to add stuff. So I guess before we create our prefab, let's even add an empty script to this so that we can change it later and it's still attached to our 3 different variants. So I'm going to create a gold coin, a silver coin, and a copper coin. So let's go down to scripts. Let's right click here, create, C# script. Now I'm not going to explain any coding in this episode again, but we're going to just name this script coin pickup. Okay, and all 3 coins can have the same script. It's going to be very small. Let's come up here to the trigger. Okay, add this coin pickup to the trigger. And we don't need to type anything in there. We can just leave it as the default script like that. We can change it later on our prefab itself. All right. Okay, so we're just missing one last component. We're going to click Add Component here on the parent of the coin asset. We're going to type in Animator. So you might have been wondering, how do we control the animations we've made now? Well, this is it. So right here under Controller, just like the material here, we need to create a new asset called an Animator Controller. So let's go to our Assets folder. Let's right click, create folder. Let's call this Animator Controllers. Let's double click this, right click, create. Down here you'll find Animator Controller. Okay, this one we're going to call Coin Controller. Now, we can double click this and it'll take us to a new new window here called Animator. And here is our controller. So here's where we can basically decide when animations are played. We can decide the speed of which they're played, the playback speed, all kinds of stuff. So up here you have layers and parameters. We're not going to worry about layers right now. We're just going to have our base layer, so that's good. We can go over to parameters, and right now we have none, but if we click this little plus, we can see which kind of parameters we can add. Now, important for code knowledge, I'll explain these right now. So float is basically any number, any number, even a fraction, a decimal. It can be 1.11111057, anything in between. An integer is only a full number, so no fractions involved. It can be 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, up to whatever, but it can't be anything in between a number. A bool is basically a true or false statement. I use them a lot as on and off switches, but basically this is just a true or false statement, so you can say if something is true or if something is false. Basically, is the player falling? Is he on the ground? Stuff like that. Trigger is basically just when something happens, like our coin asset there, we can basically call something once. And just say, do this once because this happened. So we're not actually going to use any parameters right now. We're just going to actually find where we have our animation asset, which is these little triangle icons. So we click this little arrow, and here we have something we can drag in to our animator. So let's find which one is idle. It's this one right here. Let's drag this in. Now the first animation you bring into the controller is going to be basically its default state. So entry basically means when this object becomes active. If it's already active in the scene, basically it means when the game starts, it's going to play this animation. And we already have this looping. We can actually click this right here, just like the materials and textures, and we can find out where this is in our folders. So if we click this here, we can see that it's looping. We don't change this here. We change this here, just to keep that in mind. So we have this animation in here now. And if you just want something to just start playing an animation, and loop that animation and keep playing it as your game is running, this is all you need to do. So we're going to look at a lot more of this when we bring in our player. Obviously, there's going to be some things he needs to do. Jump, maybe land on his feet. That little attack for smashing the cubes. But for the coin, this is exactly what we want. This is it. So now we can actually go to our scene. This here. So it's looking for our controller. So whenever you have an open space here or something you want to change, this little circle is basically search in your scene. You can search in your assets or your scene. So right now it actually wants a controller from the assets, right? We created it in here. So we'll select this one here, but you could type things in, right, and search for them. So we'll just select this one here. So now that's all this needs to basically play the animation and get going. So if we let go of this now and click play, there we have our coin spinning around. All right, so we're ready to create a prefab out of this. Now, as I mentioned, I want to make some skins for this. We'll do a silver coin and a copper coin. So I guess I'll rename this to gold coin asset. Okay, also go to the materials. I'll rename this coin material gold coin. All right, let's go to our prefabs. Click this, right click here, reset, just so that's in the center of our world and our prefab's at 0, 0, 0. Drag this in here, let go, original prefab. Okay, we can delete this now if we want, and we can drag these coins in wherever we want, right from the prefabs. So that's going to be it for this one, guys. In the next one, we're going to look at making some skins for our coin and probably our crate as well. Hope to see you there. Thanks for watching. Bye.